All right, so an official welcome. Welcome everybody as you're coming in. I'd love for you just to drop a note in the chat box of where you're coming in. We'll be recording this session. Some people requested to see this later that they couldn't make it, and I'm very happy to share it. But I'm really excited to invite a lot of people and friends and family in from different areas here. Niagara Falls in Ontario, Lake Oswego in Oregon, Nehalem, Oregon. Hi, Ian. You're getting a message there from Janice. Saint-Sauveur, Quebec. Monique, Lake Oswego. All right. So, hello to all. I know there's Montreal, we've got Ontario, we've got Oregon. Allô, Yan. You're getting lots of messages. Feel free to connect with one another there in the chat box. So good to feel your vibes here. All right. Allô. Let me just, people are coming in. I'm just going to admit other people in. Mm-mm. All right, more people are coming in from the waiting room here. So, welcome if you're just coming in. We're going to get started in a minute or two. And if you are just coming in, please put in the chat box where you are arriving from, where you're joining us, and feel free to connect. I know there's several of you that know one another. You can use the chat box too to say hello. And as we are getting started and as people are coming in, I also wanted to invite you, if you'd like. I know some of you have already done some of the self assessments from the Home Within book. And is there an area in particular that you would like to have some additional information on? So, the first assessment, remember, we went through the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional. We're going to be talking a little bit about the assessments and how to create that connection with ourselves. Jad from Toronto, welcome. Carol from Montreal, hello, Carol. Okay, so I'm going to keep my eyes over here also on if anybody else is coming in just to admit them, but I would like to get started. And before I launch in, let's just create a bit of an overview so you have an idea of the structure of this time that we'll have together over the next hour. And then we will be opening up our time to questions. And I'll introduce our special guest, Stéphane Bensoussan, also coming in from Montreal. So, the overview really, let's talk about how this all came to be and how this session was inspired here this evening. I want to get into that a little bit. Then I want to introduce Stéphane, talk a little bit about how we got to know each other. Stéphane is the creator of the Empowerment Spirals, one of the assessment tools that I've been using for decades, not only for myself, but with a lot of my clients. And it's just so exciting that he'll be able to speak about that tonight and how to cross the bridge from being sometimes we use that word of being the victim of life when things start to happen that are uncomfortable to how we can feel more empowered and be the creator of our lives as well. So Stefan's going to talk about that, and then we'll open it up for some questions. Okay, so we have a couple more people coming in here from the waiting room. Bonjour, Viviane. Vivian is coming in. Welcome. So, as we get started, friends, just before we start those introductions, I'd love for all of us to take a few moments just to connect. The book Home Within is really about coming home to ourselves, to reconnect to the deeper part of ourselves. And one of those ways is through self awareness. So, become self aware when we feel that we are perhaps not in our best self. We call that sometimes the personality self or the ego self. So we live in this duality in this human life of ours between the ego consciousness, our personality, and our soul self, which is that expansive, loving, peaceful place that feels like sometimes a more comfortable home to live in. So let's do that together right now. I invite you to close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, find a comfortable seat. You can plant your feet on the floor. If you're sitting in a chair or on the floor or on a cushion, take a moment to feel your seat right now. And with your eyes closed and becoming aware of your body and the places of contact on your seat, I invite you to take 3 deep breaths. Inhale through your nose. Exhale with a sigh. And those first few exhalations can symbolize the letting go, a letting go of all that it took for you to arrive here this evening. And I'm so grateful that you're here. But also letting go of anything that might be preoccupying you or distracting you in this moment in your mind. And now, as you start to breathe more naturally, just notice the inhalation and the sensation of the breath as it enters in through your nostrils, down into your lungs. And as you exhale, perhaps noticing the temperature of air and the difference of the temperature of air as it leaves your body. And what else might be leaving your body with that exhalation that just doesn't serve you in this present moment. And allow this moment just to be about mindfulness. What does that mean? About arriving into the present moment, dropping down, as we sometimes call that 12-inch journey that seems short, but sometimes can be so long to get out of our heads, out of our thinking minds, out of our personality self that takes all these actions in the world to get things done, to move things forward, which serves us well in this life. Yet there's a deeper part of us that is longing to be felt, that is longing to be lived in, that place within our own hearts. So imagine right now that you're opening a gateway in your own heart, and as you breathe, you're feeling and noticing that breath pass through your heart as you open that doorway to a deeper place to connect. And as you connect, just knowing and feeling what resides in that space of your heart right now. What does it feel like to come home to your heart right now? And maybe there's one word that describes what that feels like to come home into your heart. It may be familiar territory for you, it might be unfamiliar territory. And there's no judgment around this feeling or this word that you're describing as you come home to this place. But know that it's a place that is very welcoming, very safe, loving, peaceful, calm, and full of wisdom, just waiting to be shared with you. Notice the breath starting to slow down a little bit and see if you can begin to exhale a little bit longer than your inhalation. And as we begin to slow the exhalation down, the mind and the body become quieter, more relaxed. And still with our eyes closed for these last few moments, let's set the intention for this gathering, this online gathering, to come home within, to allow this time to be about reflection, self-awareness, getting to know those deeper parts of yourself a little better. As we let go of that, whatever doesn't serve us, knowing that we're coming home to our natural state of being, which is more peaceful, naturally more joyful, more loving. Welcome yourself into that space. And that by the end of our time together here this evening, know that you will have some clarity on being able to take just one small, more aligned step forward to living a more balanced, joyful, peaceful, connected life. So let that settle in. Take another breath. And then come back into this moment, and you can open your eyes and welcome in. The inspiration for tonight's gathering really is all about connection. It was inspired by one of my clients who asked me a very courageous question a few weeks ago. Usually we do posture therapy together, and posture therapy is about rebalancing the body, bringing more symmetry and balance into the body so that we function and feel better. Yet that day when she came in, she was feeling a little unsettled and was courageous enough to share that she was struggling and feeling overwhelmed with the busyness of her life. She is a lady in her 70s and has lived a very full life. Her personality self has guided her well, had a very good career, and has built a life for herself, yet she felt that something was missing. And she has the Home Within book, and she asked me how to use the book. How can I live this book? Where do I start? And so my answer to her was, why don't we start with the self assessments? And so if you have the book in your hands, that first self assessment that we're going to talk about we'll start with that one briefly, is on a page 118, page 118 of the book. And the self assessment that you can do, and if you haven't taken the time to do that yet, it will help you assess four components of your life: physical, mental, psychological, our emotional, and our spiritual life. And the higher we score on each of those questions can demonstrate that there might be some kind of imbalance within our being. And there's no judgment around this. It's really just a tool to help us decide what might be the next best step to feeling more fulfilled, to feeling more a meaningful project, perhaps, or how to take care of your mind, your body, your emotions, or to connect with your spiritual self. So it really is just a roadmap, and you get to choose where you start. So that's the first assessment. The second self assessment is the empowerment spirals that Stéphane is going to talk to us about this evening. And that starts on page 124. And I'm going to share an image on my screen shortly when Stéphane talks about the empowerment spirals and how we can use that as a tool for our life. It's one that I have used for decades, and this is a perfect segue to introduce my dear friend and soul brother, Stéphane Bensoussan, and he'll come on and talk a little bit about what he does as well here in a moment. We got to know each other, Stéphane, you might have to correct me, but 25 or 30 years ago already. It's hard to say that number, but I think that's about how long ago that we've met. And Stéphane and his wife Hannah used to come to my yoga classes when I think even it was before Good Life had purchased, was it still Southwest One at the time in the West Island of Montreal? And we connected, and Stéphane helped me navigate some challenges in my own life. And he had a course called The Journey to Higher Awareness that I clicked with immediately. I love guided imagery, and Stéphane is a master on guided imagery and visualizations. And as a holistic psychologist, Stéphane is not only just interested in the workings of cognitive restructuring and of the mind, but of whole self health. And Stéphane taught me about chakras before I even knew what the word meant. I don't know if I remember that day distinctly. You drew a little stick man on a piece of paper and drew those chakras on the paper.
Yep.
And also discovering what the empowerment spirals were all about as a tool to helping us be at the source of our life, to be able to make more informed, aligned, balanced decisions so that we feel more fulfilled. It doesn't mean that we don't all have ebbs and flows and highs and lows in our life. We all do. And it's the challenges which often help us grow if we choose to make us stronger. And so I'd like to pass it over to Stéphane because I'd like you to introduce yourself perhaps a little bit more and talk about your clinic that you have also in the West Island, the wonderful work that you are doing. And then when you're ready, just let me know and I will pop the empowerment spirals up on the screen so that we can all look at that tool here together tonight and see what percentage we are. Are we in that victim side? Are we in the creator side at the source of our life or not? So dear Stefan, I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks for that warm introduction, Laura, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you. Laura and I have gone back many years, and every time we've done some work together, it's always been very simple and flowy and strategic, and it just feels like we're in alignment, her and I, and we haven't spoken in a long time, and I already feel a reconnection, a sense of unity with her. So I call her my soul sister. She calls me soul brother. I just really feel like we've been together from a past life or something. But it's a pleasure to be here with you guys to share some of the tools that I use in my practice, some of the tools that I have seen remarkable changes in people's lives as a result of this one specific tool. And I'm hoping to remind you of how to find that path within yourself to get on a track of self-empowerment and be the best that you can be, and not only from an emotional point of view and a physical point of view, but from a spiritual point of view. How to find a connection to spirit, how to find a connection to something that's beyond you, and also how to start kind of manifesting things that you want to attract in your life. Um, a lot of the time, we get caught up in our story, in our life, and our limitations, and what we can't, and the difficulties that we have in our personal lives, and our relationship lives, and our work life. And sometimes we get stuck in belief patterns that limit us to only achieving just a small fraction of we can really achieve. And so the spirals are here to kind of give you a bit of a roadmap to how to accelerate your personal and interpersonal and social and emotional and, I would say, even cosmic growth. So I know there's a lot of words there, but I've seen some pretty remarkable changes with individuals just using that one tool. So, there's a reason why Laura introduced this in her book. And I think, she's seen a lot of changes within herself. She's seen people use it. So I'm excited to be able to share this with you once again.
Okay. All right. You should see that on your screen now, the empowerment spirals.
So let me walk you guys through this. So the way I look at, and I'm going to share with you as I'm talking with this client, for instance. The idea is that we're all energy and we're all beings of light. And sometimes we go through difficult times. And when we are going through tough times, it seems like there's one thing after another that seems to be bringing us down and tiring us and making us feel stuck. And other times when things are going well, then feel like we're in a flow zone. We feel like everything we touch is easy and manifest, and we're just so pleased, and everything is kind of naturally happening on its own. So we're going to talk about these two states. And I believe that some people get stuck in one of them. Usually we get stuck in the victim side. And then sometimes that can be a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years, sometimes for many decades. So we'll talk about how to recognize where you're at and how to switch from one to the other. So when I look at an individual, I try to assess on a personal level where they're at. Two kinds of individuals or two kinds of energies. One is being at the mercy, the other is called being at the source of. So being at the mercy means that you are affected by things around you. Your way that you think, the way that you feel, the way that you act is dependent on things around you. So, for example, let's say tomorrow you plan to go for a walk, and tomorrow comes and it's raining. And you might feel like, oh, it's too cold to go out, I'll walk another day. So, your goal of going for a walk goes out the window because it's raining. So, you're at the mercy of the weather. And if it's a cloudy day or dark day, you might feel kind of down and tired. And if it's a sunny day, then you feel excited and happy and alive. So that means that your mood is dependent on the weather. Likely, if someone posts something on social media that makes you feel sad, then you feel sad. If someone posts a happy story that you read, then you feel happy and excited. If people say nice things to you about what you've cooked or what you've made or what you've done, then you feel great. And if people make a little remark that, oh, that looks like there's a little too much salt in here, or it's too whatever, then you feel bad, right? So your mood may change, your value of yourself changes, your sense of self, identity, um, varies according to things external to you. And it could be internal stuff. Some of us may have pain in our bodies for different reasons. And how do we deal with that pain? Does the pain stop us from doing the things that we want to do? Sometimes it has to, but sometimes we allow the pain to kind of take over. And then we become at the mercy of our internal experiences or our limitations. So when we are at the mercy of, I look at an individual and I say, this is a person who's reactive to something. So I am reacting to something that's happening in my life. Something happens and I react. It's sunny, so I go out. It's rainy, so I stay in. People are mean to me, so I feel bad. People are nice to me, so I feel good. So it's a person who is reactive to things that are happening in his or her life. And as a result, I call this the victim spiral. So anybody who's in that place when you're reacting to things in your world, you are a victim. It's a strong word, and I use it on purpose to trigger people. Because when we trigger people, that's when we start seeing changes. So let me break it down. A person who's in that reactive spiral is kind of like the bonhomme on the left side, that darkish figure that's kind of downcast, looking down and feeling tired and drained and heavy and dark. And that individual is in what I call a tornado spiral. So it just feels that they're lost or confused. They don't know where to turn. Everything is going fast around them. There's no real good things happening. And they start experiencing things around the blue green spiral, words like disrespect. So that could mean that people around you are not being so nice to you. That could mean that you're talking and people are just ignoring you. That could mean that you're walking into a shopping center and all of a sudden the door slams in your face. The person didn't hold the door for you. That could mean that, someone just cuts you off when you're driving. So to me, everything that happens in the world, in our specific world, is a function of ourselves. So energetically, from a holistic point of view, we are putting out a vibration to the world and we attract back what we put out. It's a reflection. So if I attract or experience situations of disrespect, that's a sign that I'm at the mercy of something in my life. I'm in that reactive spiral that day or that time. Aside from disrespect, we may attract interpersonal conflict. So we disagree with our partner, we have an argument with a friend, we don't see eye to eye with someone, the people disagree with us, and we don't feel good inside. It could also be abuse, where someone is actually taking advantage of us or trying to hurt us in some way, or take money from us, which leads into financial insecurity, where I get all these bills today in the mail. Like, oh my God, these bills are so expensive. I can't believe the cost of living. And I'm so concerned about how am I going to make ends meet at the end of the week, of the month, of the year. And I'm worried about my money and so forth. So there's financial insecurity. And it's not about how much money I have in the bank account, because I've worked with people with all kinds of wealth. And even people who are very significantly wealthy still have financial insecurity. They're watching the stock market go up and down every 10 minutes, and then they're anxious and worried. So they don't have to be worried, but they're still anxious. And that's an example of them being in that spiral. Okay. So anytime we feel some sort of worry about money, then that's an example of us. We're in that place, in that victim spiral, in that reactive spiral at that time in our life. We also experience at the bottom of that benign health problems. So health problems could be a number of things. Could be, oh, I have a headache, I feel tired, I haven't slept last night, but it could be something more significant like pain or an illness of some kind of thing. Either way, whenever we have those experiences, we feel we start experiencing more bad lucks and injustices. So bad lucks examples could be you're driving and then you get a traffic ticket, or you're sliding on ice. We've had a pretty bad ice storm here in Quebec this last couple of days, and people are slipping all over the place. So the bad lucks, when we are experiencing things that are not what we want, or we have injustices that occur, those are examples that at that specific day or that time in my life, I'm at the mercy of something. And I'm in a reactive energy spiral. So, whenever we feel those kind of interpersonal issues, the financial insecurity, the health problems, the bad lucks, we're not in a pretty good state, right? Things are not so great for us. We're not so happy. And we will feel one or some of the emotions below the blue green spiral. For example, fear, sadness, stress, anger, resentment, depression, guilt, anxiety, confusion, uncertainty, and or jealousy. Okay, those are some of the examples of what we feel when we're at the mercy of something. And as a result of that, what occurs is that we get stuck and we get stuck in the emotions. And then some of these experiences that we put out is like we're more victimized. And so, energetically, the blueprint that we're sending to the world is I'm a victim. Guess what? The what you put out is what you get back. So, if you're projecting yourself energetically to the world as I'm a victim, I get victimized, then the universe says, oh, there's a victim, let's victimize them. And then you get more bad luck and more disrespect and more financial insecurity and more health problems. So we have to believe that what we put out is what we attract. And if you're feeling one of those states of emotion, automatically you're at the mercy of something or someone in your life. If you're experiencing one of those things around the blue green spiral, you're experiencing something which keeps you in that reactive state. So I know there's a lot of questions that may be coming up for you, but try to see if you resonate with that. Or at some point in your life, have you felt that you were at the mercy of something that was bigger than you? And how did you feel? Did you ever feel like you were living in some sort of tornado, like everything is overwhelming and too much and bad things are occurring at that time? And then try to think back to how you felt at that point. That could still be now, or it could be something from the past. So that's the victim spiral. Let me go to the second spiral and then we'll connect them. So the second spiral is being at the source of your life. And that means that you are the creator of whatever you want. If you say you're going to go for a walk tomorrow, tomorrow comes, you're going for the walk. It doesn't matter the weather. If it's raining or if it's sunny or whatever it is, you're still going to go for that walk. And even if it's icy, you're still going to go for that walk. And if you can't walk outside, then you'll walk somewhere else. But you said you're going to walk, so you're going to walk. So when you're at the source of, you're not affected by what other people think or say to you. You're not affected by the media. So you are basically in charge of how you feel and how you think. And you decide how your life is going to be from moments to moment, to day, from year to year. And so when we are at the source of, think of the sunshine. The sun is the source of our life. So I call this the sunshine spiral. So think of our life. If we didn't have the sun, we probably wouldn't be existing for very long. So the source is the beginning of life, and it's what creates basically our sense of power and control and success. So this is another type of spiral. This time the spiral turns, but it turns outwards. It's like the sun radiates its waves and energy outside. So the rays of the sun grow bigger and bigger, and we take up more and more space. And we stand like the bonhomme that's there, tall, strong, full of light, and fully empowered. What does that look like? It's a person who walks around and attracts attention, attracts admiration. People look at them and they feel good about themselves. They feel like, wow, look at that individual go. It could be a person that talks to you and say, wow, you look good today. Oh, I like the way you did your hair. Or it could be like a compliment that they're giving you regarding something that you've done. It's the person who will give you respect and listen to what you have to say. It's the person who opens the door for you. So the days that people show you that kind of admiration or respect or support, that's a sign that you're doing something right. That's a sign that you're at the source of that day. And when you're at the source of, you are in a mode of abundance where you are attracting money, compliments, and love. And that means that you don't have to go fishing for it, it just comes to you. You get a check in the mail, you get your stocks are going up, you just feel good about life, and all of a sudden, good things continue to happen to you. There's an abundance of love around you. Optimum health, if we look at the bottom there of that red orange spiral, you feel good. You wake up, there's no pain, you feel light, you feel clear, all systems are working inside, you're doing well. Optimum health, your energy is high. Okay. And then we have the horseshoe factor, the luck factor. So, luck can mean you're driving and you get all the green lights. You find that magical parking spot right in front of your destination. Um, you find money on the floor. You get all kinds of opportunities coming to you that way. People are soliciting your attention and your support or your work. Those are signs that you're at the source of your life. You're in what I call a proactive spiral. Proactive means you're not waiting for something to happen. You take charge. You want something, you go after it. You go get it. You don't wait for someone to bring it to you, or you don't wait for someone to call you. You are going out there and you making this happen. So this is the creator spiral, and it's the opposite to the victim spiral. When we are in that creator space, creator mode, we feel the emotions below: love, success, happiness, confidence, peace, clarity, strength, and power. So it's not necessarily someone like an Anthony Robbins follower who goes, rah, 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 go conquer the world. You can do this. You can do everything. It's not about cheerleading yourself to making things happen and boosting yourself. The word peace is really core and fundamental to this. It's an individual who doesn't have to prove anything, but wants to feel in control, wants to feel peaceful, is not afraid of anything. And when they're coming from a place of fear, that moves them into being at the mercy of. When they're coming from a place of peace, they're at the source of. So when we are at the source of, we start attracting and manifesting things that we want. Things come to us easily. We're like a magnet. And we're a magnet for abundance, a magnet for love, a magnet for attention, a magnet for success in whatever way that we choose. We feel better about ourselves when we're in that place, right? We're that sunshine. The person walks into the room and lights up the room just by their being. You know those kinds of people. You've seen them. You've been there sometimes. So, what's holding us back? Why are we not sunshines every single day of our life? Why can't we be there? Why can't we be this beautiful, full of life energy that we can be when we're at the source of our life? So, what I like to look at with people is how much of you feels at the mercy of, and how much of you feels at the source of. And so I like to quantify, just because people like numbers. What's the percentage of time that you feel at the mercy of? What's the percentage that you feel at the source of? Most of us are somewhere in between. We have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Sometimes a lot of one, sometimes a little less of the other. So think of yourself in your life, and we're going to talk about the last 2 or 3 days, not more than that. How much have you been at the mercy? How much are you at the source? And if you don't know how to score that, look at the emotions below. So my question to you is, what's the percentage of time the last 2, 3 days have you felt fear, sadness, stress, anger, all those negative emotions? And what's the percentage of time that you felt love, success, happiness, confidence, peace, clarity, strength, and power? So come up with a percentage. It could be 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, something like that. And just give yourself a ballpark where you land. Once you have figured out that percentage, then it's really about, okay, do I want to stay here? Am I comfortable with what this is? What this number is? Or do I want to switch a little bit more to be, or a lot more to be at the source of? So if we want to be at the source of, we want to be proactive, then there's a bridge. And what do we do to change? How do we get out of the mercy spiral? How do we get out of the victim mentality or the victim self? That little bridge that you see at the bottom between the two spirals is called the DARES bridge. So the DARES is an acronym for DARES for DARES, decision, action, risk, expression, self-love. So if you look at an individual who is a creator, who is proactive, who's at the source of her or his life, they are making dares all the time. What does that mean? It means they're taking decisions about everything and anything. They're taking actions. They're taking risks. Expression, so they're expressing themselves, and they're working from a place of self-love. So let's define that a little bit more. Decisions, actions, risk, expression, self-love. Decisions could mean little things like, who am I going to call today? I want to speak to somebody. I haven't spoken to this person in a while. I feel like I want to talk to him or her. And then they actually take up the phone and they call that individual. That's taking the action. They take the risk of reaching out to this individual. The decision action risk can mean, you know what? I've taken this road the last 10 days, the same road. Let's change it up a little. I'm going to take a detour. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to go through another neighborhood that I don't know as well. It's not a big deal. It's not going to be changing the world, but it's something a little different. I'm going to do my hair in a different way today. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to wear this outfit that I haven't worn in a while. It's a little bit colorful. It's a little bit osé. It's a little bit risky. You know what? I want to try it. I want to see what people, I want to see what people react like, how they react to this. But for me, I want to do it because I want to feel good about myself. And this color suits me today and it suits my mood. And I want to push the limits a little bit. Or I want to register for a course. I haven't done this before. I want to try something new. I want to dare myself to be as best as I can. I want to go do a spin class. I want to try yoga. I want to try this yoga pose. I've never done it quite in this way. Let's see if I can push myself a little bit more. So again, we're listening to ourselves, what we feel like we want to do. We're not doing things because we have to. We're doing things because we want to. Individuals who are creators do what they want. They don't do what they have to. People who do what they have to do are stuck in that victim spiral. Why? Because they're afraid. Why? Because they're at the mercy of what society wants them to do or expects them to do. So if you want to be a creator, you have to learn to let go of what other people think and do what you want to do. Live your life the way you want to live your life. And that means being daring. That means doing things that you want, even though other people may say, it might not be such a good idea. You're still doing it. You're taking the risk and you're pushing your boundaries and your limits. Okay, the other one that's important on that concept is the idea of risk. Risk doesn't mean jumping off a bridge and see if you survive. That would be reckless. But risk to me means pushing the boundaries, doing something different, trying something new, experimenting, having that need for adventure, doing something different. Okay? Expression means that you're speaking, you're communicating, you're talking about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what your opinions are about something. You talk about things that are on your mind with people. That's called expression. You dare to talk about your feelings. You dare to talk about your opinions. And yeah, that can cause disturbance. That can cause waves. That can cause people to be upset. And that may not be popular. But that's not the point. The point is you're expressing yourself because you need to share. You want to share. And that keeps you at the source of. Okay? And then the self-love part puts it all together. So when you're making decisions, you need to make that decision from a place of self-respect and a self-love. Whatever you want, you go do. That makes sense for you and that makes you feel good about you. You're not going to do something just because it's suitable to others or it's good for convention or it's what people expect you to do. Self-love means honoring yourself and listening to what your intuition is telling you. So if you're invited to go to a party and you said to everybody that you're planning on going, and then you decide you don't really feel like going, you're allowed to change your mind and say, you know what? I don't really feel like going. I want to take a bubble bath tonight. That's an example of self love. Or the contrary, you're used to staying home and someone invites you and you say, you know what? Let me dare myself and let me go out and see if I can meet some new people. That's an example of self love, also. So, self love is about listening into that little voice inside that pushes us to respect ourselves and our boundaries and listening to what I want, what I feel, what I need, and honoring that. When we are doing more of those things, we quickly move to being at the source of. And guess what? When we're at the source of, those percentages that were maybe a little more slighted on the fear side or the victim side starts shifting to being more the source of. And as a result, the universe starts smiling at us and says, oh, look at that. They're a creator. Let's give them some good stuff. And then you start attracting admiration and luck and abundance and health, and you start feeling better about yourself. So it seems a little bit magical, and it's because it is. So I'm kind of smiling at this because I've seen it time and time again in my life and in my clients' lives how dramatically different their life changes when they just apply the spirals to their world. And how do you start? Well, we've looked at what are your percentages at the source and at the mercy. So that gives you kind of like a baseline. Where am I at today? And where do I want to be? Set a goal. So let's say you're 70% at the mercy of, and you want to be 70% at the source of. Okay, so we're going to make some decisions, actions, and risks. We're going to work from self love. We're going to take some dares every day, as many as I can, and then watch those percentages drop and shift at the mercy and watch them go up at the source, and then see, be a witness to this, to how your life shifts and changes after that. So don't take my word for it. Try it out, put it into practice. Let's see if you can be daring. Let's see if you can live daringly and put into practice the DARES principle and see how that affects you. That's what I'm curious to find out. Can you dare yourself? So that's kind of a wrap. That kind of gives you a big sense of how this works. Um, I guess we're open to questions if you have.
Yeah, what insights surprised you? I think too, when we talk about self-assessments, it's a really good opportunity to see what are the next best steps and what area of my life, I want to focus a little bit on. The goal isn't to fix everything all at once, right? I think it's just to be able to choose that next aligned step towards the way you want to live. But happy to open that up if anybody had any insights or questions or something that surprised you. We're still processing it all. Thank you, Vivienne. Yeah. I think this is something that you can use for a long time. For years, Stefan, I printed this, and for years I had it on my fridge on a magnet. So it was just a reminder because anything that we decide to do, we're living in the information age right now. We're bombarded by all kinds of information. You just have to turn on the news or anything on social media. So part of what we've talked about here in Home Within, and we'll get to this in future gatherings in the Master Your Mindset. But I'll often say, stand guard at the gateway of your mind, being careful what you're letting in. So if you have a specific goal or something that you want to move towards, are your thoughts, are your actions and your choices and your words all aligned in that direction? Because it's so easy to get distracted and to be pulled into one thing or another. A phone call comes in, oops, an email come in, oops, somebody else has a priority for you. Just because somebody else has a priority doesn't mean that it's yours necessarily in that instant. So, it's making that's part of making our choices in staying empowered of saying, I've got a priority today. This is the path that I'm following forward. There's always going to be little detours sometimes, but it's how we navigate those detours. So I'm just going to check the chat here, see if there's any questions coming in written. Thank you, Janice. Hmm. Thank you. So Lorraine is sharing, you put into a nice way, words into a nice way of what I'm feeling. I'm glad I can choose where I stand. Yeah. And this is an ongoing journey, friends. This is something, like I said, I've been working with decades. And I'm so grateful and honored that Stéphane chose to put his words into this book through the empowerment spirals, but also in the forward of this book as well, because health and well-being is a multifaceted process. So it's how we take care of our bodies, it's how we take care of our minds and our emotions and our spiritual self. And it's a fun journey. I think we can stay in that empowerment spiral. And like you use the word magical, and I love that because it really
Mhm.
is magical when you set an intention, and I believe the power of intention sets the universal forces in motion, right? Then the right person comes along your path, or you happen to turn on your phone and there's a message there for you. Uh, Janice is on here right now, and she's great at posting little inspirations every day. And many times I've turned it on, and why did I turn on my phone in that moment and saw Janice's post? It was just what I needed to hear or what I needed to say, or I'll ask the universe, like, please help me through this challenge. And then, whoops, later in the day, I notice that somebody says something and it aligns. But we have to stay present and we have to stay self aware to be able to catch those beautiful nuggets of wisdom that are coming our way. Because it's the ask and you shall receive, but we have to be open and receptive to also receive and notice when it comes in. And we talked about this in our last online gathering here, friends, was the power of gratitude. So when something does happen that it aligns, my gosh, say thank you. Thank you to the person. Thank you to the universe. Thank you is, I remember a spiritual teacher saying once that if there was, trying to put this right, but if the only word that you spoke in prayer was the word thank you, that would be enough. Right. So acknowledging, because what does gratitude do to our hearts? And it's one of our gateways. So there's 9 gateways to coming home to ourselves. And gratitude is one of those beautiful practices to raise that vibrational frequency whenever we're feeling in the victim of sometimes just taking a moment, getting still like we did together earlier. Take a few deep breaths, set the intention of going within, and start focusing on what you appreciate. So ask yourself that right now. What are 3 things that went well for you today? What are 3 things that you appreciated, that lit up your heart, that made you smile? And so what we focus on grows. One of my favorite expressions has always been energy flows where focus goes. And so where we place the gift of our attention is what we start amplifying and growing in our life. So gratitude is a beautiful practice to, in a way, you said this, Stefan, to show the universe what it is that you're wanting, right? When we say thank you, we're positively reinforcing that as we move forward. And those
Mhm.
fun little synchronicities show up. You showed
Mhm.
up for me in a time in my life when I really needed the guidance, and I'll be forever grateful.
Mhm. It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure.
So wonderful. Next steps, friends. If there are any other questions, let me see. Viviane, awesome and in line with neuroscience. Making a decision is the off switch for anxiety and low vibe emotions. Thanks for sharing that. And she said, thanks for explaining this powerful tool. Yeah. I just said that to somebody this week when he left the clinic, is recognizing when our bodies say yes and when our bodies say no. When we're in those amplified, you use the word expansive, feelings. It's like, oh, yes, move forward towards more of this. This feels
Mhm.
good
Mhm.
versus no, this feels glitchy and bad. Our body is contracting and saying no. I think, Stefan, that might be something you taught me years ago too, of how to use your
Mhm.
body as a pendulum, you
Mhm.
know, how to choose the right foods, how to choose the right amount of rest, the right amount of
Mhm.
exercise, the right amount of whatever projects in your life. So, yeah, the on off. So, we talked a little bit about that last time. But next steps, friends, thank you for your support in Home Within. Read the book, digest it as you want. This morning, I just opened it up to a page, and it happened to be the right page that I needed to read at that time of my own words. And that's probably the reason why I put that book together was because it has been my roadmap to health, healing, and happiness through the last 3 decades of my life. And it's an ongoing process, and we all need the reminders, which is why it's so wonderful to come together like this in these supportive gatherings just to help each other and to encourage each other along the path. And so there will be more of these gatherings, either monthly or every 2 months as the inspiration comes through for me and something that I want to share. If you're interested, certainly connect with me. Let me know. If you're not already on the list where I send out my School of Happiness blogs, let me know. I'll make sure that you're on the list so that you're aware of future gatherings. And if you feel that you need more individual, I do posture therapy work, but Stéphane has the clinic Psy Santé. Maybe Stéphane, do you want to just talk a little bit about it's not Psy Santé, maybe it's a different. I know you've changed and gone through some beautiful transformations where you are in the West Island, so I'll let you share what you're doing.
Thank you. It's still Psy Santé. That hasn't
Okay.
changed. We're expanding. We've got a whole bunch of new services, but we're still in person in the West Island, Montreal, Pierrefonds, but open to, virtual international destinations. We have lots of clients all over the world that we work with. Um, so I do one-on-one counseling, and we have a team of practitioners. I think we're 27 practitioners that work with us now, all have different expertises and interests and skills. So happy to work with an integrative, holistic model. Integrative meaning working mind, body, and spirit, helping to understand people where they're at, helping people work through trauma, helping people to be more in alignment with their true self and their values. So we're not coming from a place of let's diagnose you and find out what's wrong. Let's work with who you are and help you get back to your healthy, most balanced self. So my
Mm.
mental health approach is not so much diagnosing what's wrong, but helping people recognize, yeah, you're out of balance, and we all go out of balance from time to time. And what do we need to do to get you back into balance? And so sometimes it's food-based stuff, sometimes it's changing our exercise patterns, sometimes it's changing our thoughts, sometimes it's changing something that tweaks us, sometimes it's getting on the empowerment journey and following the spirals, but it's usually based on changing something in our world, in our life, as opposed to sitting back and reflecting and trying to understand patterns. Sometimes that helps, but sometimes it just keeps us even more stuck. So
Mm.
for us, it's more of a coaching you to move into more wellness, keep coaching you to find that inner peace inside you, not seeking answers outside of yourselves, but helping you to refocus inwards and helping you understand the messages that are coming your way through your body messages, through pain or illness. Sometimes that's a tremendous healing journey, but sometimes it's the universe's way of getting our attention. Sometimes it's difficult situations in life that we have to work through. But each step of the way, there's something that we need to grow and learn. And as long as we're alive, we can learn and we can grow, we can achieve, but we also have to come back within ourselves, right? So to me, it's like life is an adventure, and let's kind of discover, let's explore ourselves, let's find out who we are internally. And then once we find out who we are and what makes us tick, what makes us better, what makes us worse, what makes us more balanced, then it's about how do I make a difference in the world? What's my portion here? How can I serve in my best self, my highest self? How can I make a difference in the world? So that's some of the things that we support our clients with, and virtually in person, in groups, one on one, whichever. But that's a
Mm.
little bit about us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, I think that's a wrap, my friends. I want to just express my gratitude for all of you for taking the time out of your schedules this evening to join us. And thank you for your sharing. Thank you, Lorraine. I love your message. Let's shine. Yes, that's the empowerment spiral. Can we be that sunshine shining out that energy and to go create what it is that your heart truly is desiring? So stay connected to that powerful inner home. It's accessible to us all in any moment. We just need to choose it. Be well, friends. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next gathering.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone.
Bye for now.